We have several faith leaders with us here today. Mike McCarran, Executive Director of the Florida Catholic Conference. We have David Bugler, who is the Vice President of the National Denomination of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. We have local pastors here, Pastor Curtis Clark, Thomasville Road Baptist Church, Pastor Greg Huntington, Every Nation Church in Tallahassee, Pastor Larry Perry, Freedom Church, First Assembly of God, and Pastor Tom Underwood from the Capital City Christian Church. I'd like to introduce David Bugler first to make a statement on behalf of his denomination nationwide. And then also I want to introduce Anita Staver following him. Anita is the co-author of the amendment along with Matt Staver, her husband, who is the Dean of Liberty Law School in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Good morning. My name is David Bugler. I'm Vice President of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri, and I stand proudly with the Yes on 2 leadership at this press conference. In less than 2 weeks in the states of Arizona, California, and Florida, marriage protection amendments are on the ballot. In these 3 states, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, based upon our deep theological principles, will do all we can to help protect marriage as the divinely created relationship between one man and one woman. As one of the largest U.S. Christian church bodies with 2.4 million members, we are urging our members in these states and Christians across the nation to educate themselves on this marriage issue in the short time left before the elections. We must protect marriage as we know it between one man and one woman, not only for the sake of our society, but in protection of our theological and religious liberty. For that reason, we are teaming up with pro-family groups in the 3 states where marriage amendments are on the ballot, and for this reason, I'm glad to be here in Tallahassee this morning. Just 12 days ago, the Connecticut Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage in that state. Connecticut's same-sex marriage ban was struck down, affirming the need for constitutional amendments in states that currently do not have them. In the midst of this action, those who represent the vast majority of the citizens of our country can't remain silent. As a Christian body in this country, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod believes it has the duty, the responsibility to speak publicly in support of traditional marriage. Accordingly, as a church body, we are urging our leaders, members, congregations, and in fact, all Christians and citizens to give public witness against the social acceptance and legal recognition of same-sex marriage. Our church body in convention has with near unanimity affirmed marriage as the lifelong union of one man and one woman. For us, this is part of our confessional belief. And for that reason, we seek to educate and inform our constituency about the threat to religious liberty that looms behind this growing movement toward legalized same-sex marriage. We're concerned about the loss of religious liberty if our churches and pastors are forced to perform same-sex weddings. In the many social ministries our church carries out for the good of our nation, our people, we're concerned again about our religious liberty. And so with just 2 weeks to go until one of the most important elections in history takes place, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod and its leaders know there is no time to lose in urging citizens, Christians, all who believe in the value of traditional marriage to be informed and to get to the polls. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Doc.
Good morning. If Amendment 2 fails, same-sex marriage proponents will file a barrage of lawsuits just like they did in 2004 and 2005, seeking to find activist judges who will simply redefine it at the stroke of a pen. Since 2004, the state of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and California have voted all to redefine marriage, and it was just that the judges did that with a stroke of a pen by a 4-3 margin. The courts have replaced the people's will with their own personal ideology. They've ignored the people and ignored the impact on our children. We don't need a crystal ball to tell what's going to happen in Florida if Amendment 2 does not pass. Normalizing same-sex marriage will suppress speech and religion. The ultimate goal for those opposing Amendment 2 is to silence all opposition to same-sex behavior and the homosexual lifestyle. Now, the battle over marriage is really the battle over the freedom of speech. Marriage is not really the object of many of these same-sex proponents. Very few same-sex couples actually get married in countries where it's legal. After same-sex marriage was approved by a judge in Massachusetts and ushered in against the will of the people, Catholic charities in Boston were forced to stop providing adoption services because they refused to place children in same-sex couple household. When the Parker family objected to having their children forced to read The King and the King, the same book that the Worthland spoke about, the school officials actually had the father, David Parker, arrested, and they spent more than $250,000 in legal fees and finally lost. School officials simply claim that they have to do this because same-sex marriage is legal in Massachusetts. A photographer in New Mexico was fined $6,000 for refusing to take pictures of a lesbian commitment ceremony. A Methodist organization in New Jersey lost its property tax exemption for refusing to allow a pavilion to be used for commitment ceremonies for lesbian couples. Broadcasters in Canada and others who are criticizing same-sex marriage, and because same-sex marriage is legal, they've been charged as criminals for their opposition. A Canadian printer was actually fined $5,000 for refusing to print letterhead for a homosexual advocacy group. A Canadian pastor was charged with a hate crime for simply speaking out against the indoctrination of children in the public schools over the issue of homosexuality. A professor at a British Columbia Teachers College was suspended from his job for just writing letters to the editor expressing his opinion about the promotion of homosexuality in the public schools. In Great Britain, where they have a civil partnership law that has been used as an excuse to bring investigations by the police against private citizens who dare to speak against same-sex activity. And Swedish pastor Ake Green was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 1 month in jail for preaching a sermon based on Romans chapter 1 of the Bible. Although his conviction was overturned, the case has had a chilling effect for other pastors. Now, Florida, we've had ample warning. To prevent similar travesties from coming to this state, we need to get ready. We need to vote yes on Amendment 2.
Thank you. As you can see, we've demonstrated that there really are, as where it's played out in Massachusetts and some of these Scandinavian countries, there are profound impact. And it's not just about two people living together. It's about the transformation of a human institution and our understanding of what it means to have human socialization. So these are very broad concepts.